we're not going to have air dominance. Because I have been to China twice, and those guys, there is manufacturing on every corner.
The fiber optic godfather, Troy Smothers.
Forbes magazine came out with this awesome article on March 8th of 2024. And when the article came out, I just said, we can build this. I take a piece of fiber and I'm able to eliminate all comms because I have direct communication with it, flying into a position to kill a threat. That's a life saved.
Why did it take so long for the Ukrainians to adopt something that was already being used against them?
That's when the real crusade began.
Today's guest is a former U.S. Marine Corps infantry sergeant who had the opportunity to train alongside Ukrainian soldiers in 2005. During that time, he developed a deep appreciation for the people and culture of Ukraine. Following Russia's invasion in 2022, he traveled to Ukraine to assess the situation and consider how he could best help the people of Ukraine. In 2023, he founded American Made Freedom, a nonprofit that assists Ukrainian troops with fiber optic drones. Welcome, the fiber optic godfather, Troy Smothers.
Hey, that was a great intro. Only one correction,
okay,
brother.
So, yeah, what's up?
Once a Marine, always a Marine. That's the only thing there.
Okay.
For the record, I don't want the Marine Corps to take away my street cred.
For the record.
Semper Fi. Heavenly Father, grateful to be here with Dan and my son. Grateful we were able to travel safely. Grateful for the great accommodations last night. Lord, pray that thou will please inspire my words, that I can be at peace and know, and that we can say and share the experiences that will encourage and inspire our military leaders to trust their people under their command, that they might be inspired to understand the importance of drone and make mass adoptions to our military forces to save lives. And we ask for this blessing, Lord, and we're grateful for this land of freedom that we live in. We say this in the name of the Son, Jesus Christ, amen. I just want to say thank you.
You bet.
First of all, this is a very big deal to me. I'm able to give this. Everything I do in Ukraine is through my amazing donors that give at different levels at different times.
This is great.
But this flag right here is actually a flag. I carry several into positions with me. And this particular unit I was with, and some of the guys building, later. Not all of this was on position, but some of these guys, and we were literally on position. And say, hey, you got to sign this, So I got some pictures and stuff I can share for content later. But this is for you. This is for the work you do.
Thank you.
And the how you're highlighting the importance of us learning from Ukraine. So, brother, thank you for having that.
Hey, appreciate that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's not over, man. It's not over. Here is a shirt. I don't know your size, but they're kind of small in Ukraine. Here's an extra large. Everything I do is under. It used to be Drone Reaper, but people were getting me confused with Reaper drones.
Yep.
Here's American Made Freedom. Here's just a shirt for you. And here's a patch, brother.
Oh, thank you.
So
man.
American Made Freedom. And just know I'm not a business. I'm a 501c3.
Okay.
And had a lot of experience with. You can edit this. Let's just call them Big L. I don't know if the L3, and I got their first combat kills over in Ukraine for them, documented it, and it was not the most positive experience I've had. I was really the engineers, best people in the world, all forward leaning, reached out to me. The political components did not want to. The bean counters just said, "Hey, you don't have a contract," and they just.
Unbelievable.
Go pound sand. I mean, $40,000. I mean, hey, at the end of the day, I killed Russians, and that's what I'm here to do.
Yep.
But, I normally don't subsidize a $40 billion company. So that's another conversation. All right. I'm done. I'm sorry,
No,
bro.
you're good. Troy, we're going to put a lot of that in there, and we'll see what you want to edit out. But first time anyone has ever done a prayer of that depth before we've started an interview. That was very profound. I thought it was great.
What we do here today, the conversation we're going to have is going to be picked up by U.S. military leaders, and it can influence their decision moving forward on how we train, how we prepare before war. And this information is going to save U.S. lives.
So we're going to get into your background here in a second. Let's jump right in on that, okay?
All right.
But you're clearly incredibly passionate about this. Where did this come from?
I love being free.
Yeah,
Sure. I
sure.
mean, at first I'm a capitalist, so I've always been a citizen soldier, right? Marine Corps Reserves, because I love seeing if I can go out in the industry and make my fortune, right? But if we don't have freedom, we can't have capitalism.
Totally.
And so, signed up the Marine Corps, kind of a late bloomer, went in age 26, excelled in the Marine Corps, loved it, 2 meritorious promotions there. And whenever I'm doing, I get extremely into. And so finished my time in the Marine Corps. But here's how I can see the hand of God directing some of my life, because, I've learned now at age 50 that God's plan for our lives is greater than our individual plans that we can come up with. So through the Marine Corps, I went to Ukraine. We went to Odessa, and we trained. Now, this was 20 years ago.
Okay.
And
so mid-2000s kind of?
Mid-2000s. Okay. Forbes magazine, thank goodness, looked it up and gave me the exact date.
Okay.
Said, hey, is this guy making this stuff up? So they did the research for me. We said, no, because they have contacts in the Marine Corps. And so we went over and we trained these Ukrainians, these infantry tactics. Man, we're rolling around their old Soviet stuff and, diesel fuel leaking. We're flying to their helicopters, hydraulic fluid puddling on the floor. And you just look, and these guys are they knew the enemy that whole time 20 years ago. Every scenario was us fighting a Russian adversary, right? And they loved it. They loved that we were pouring into them. They loved that they had Western supports. They loved, when we were learning how to, everyone does it now, but stack and clear a building. And, we loved it just because we could see at that time that these guys did not have the latest and greatest. And of course, we're in the Marine Corps, right? So we kind of have some old equipment anyway, right? But we're still so effective. And so they were feeding off of our spirit. We were feeding off of their spirit, because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want to be free, and we want to protect our families and have a better life for our, a better future. So that was the short story of the Marine Corps, how it got me to Ukraine.
Okay.
The first time.
So it's mid-2000s, 2005. Did you kind of fall in love with the place at that time?
Yes. I fell in love with just realizing there's people across the world that wanted this exact same thing in the world that I do. And that's just freedom, and how similar we all are.
So when I started this business, I have a buddy, his name is Bryce, and Naval Academy guy.
Okay.
Was blown up in Iraq, coach at UCLA, Bryce McDonald, and he mailed me a book, okay? And it is like, and I'm trying to find it right now on my phone, and maybe Emma can help us find it. But the Marine Corps gave the Ukrainians, after the first invasion, so 10 years after your time, right?
Okay.
A bunch of the books on how to fight guerrilla-style tactics. And I know there's like a Marine Corps book.
I'm sure I've trained from it. I don't recall.
But it's from like World War II. This is how you fight island to island, using what you have, like figuring out new things.
Amen.
And let's kind of fast forward to today, because you've obviously started American Made Freedom, and we're going to talk all about fiber drones here. Okay. But what did you take from your time in the Marine Corps that has kind of influenced how you're building systems and how you're teaching people to employ them today?
It's a combination. So the Marine Corps is, at the end of the day, we're going to win the battle. I mean, just period. We're so, I don't want to say brainwashed, but I would say motivated, that anything other than just mission success is just not even thought of. It's we don't even have an excuse for why something didn't work out. Okay. Next to the Bible, in some other books, there's a book by Jacko that he wrote, Extreme Ownership.
Of course.
And I'll tell you, that is my theory. That's my theory in life. And I read it. This is me. And so failure is not. It's not. I don't know. I mean, I guess it happens to people, but we're going to win this war. And because when you get more to the Ukrainian side, here's why it's so necessary. When you're fighting with men, and all we have is what we have, we're going to go and kill Russians and defend ourselves with what we have. And the Ukrainians have inspired that in me. So, you go to war with the kit you have. You go to war with the Marines, with the people you have. Yep. And if these people are inspired and to defend their country, I'm going to be right beside them. And they inspire me to level up. and to get everything I can and to do what I've done. So how's the Marine Corps? We're going to fight, win, and defend righteousness. Okay, that's what we do as Marines. That's what we do for our country. I'll just be clear. I've got one loyalty. I love Ukraine. I've got one loyalty, and that's my country. And but these Ukrainians, they want the same thing for their country. So it's a common bond right there. So they just naturally came together. It's like being in the Marine Corps. Just we're all wearing different uniforms because they're so dressy. Because there's no standardization of anything. Here, this is what I want people to understand. We're only as good as our last fundraise. Okay, because the fiber optic drone is a newer technology to Ukraine, even though it's been around for a moment. And I'd love to tell you the backstories on how how that came around.
I can't wait.
But it's, we're only as good as our last fundraise. So if we only raise 20,000, 30,000, 100,000, then we can only go to war with that because there's 3 pots of money. There's what a unit hopefully the Ukrainians are really good at putting aces in their places. So if they got someone who's good with social media, they'll allow that person, typically if the commander's smart, to say, hey, let's see if we can get some fundraising. Let's do this. And if they have a certain region where these guys are coming from, they'll hit their communities and they'll reach out to those guys.
I'm sure we're all in all those signal chats, and you know the ones that are good.
So they hit the ones right there. And so that pot of money is from fundraising. And then the other fundraising is coming from government pots of money. And then they have a soft pot there, which is government, a little bit of everything, how they allocate. They don't, maybe something's, just money comes in and gets allocated for this purpose. Well, drones are originally, there's just no allocation for this.
Of course.
And, so again, we could only, even the drones being proved effective, the fiber drone, it's just financially challenging to get those resources in the hands of the frontline units due to the pots of money. Now, is that changing? Absolutely. I'm very proud to say that American-made freedom, I'm established legally over in Ukraine, and that we have a partnership now with Brave One Marketplace.
Great.
And so we're doing the underwriting. Just quick story on the background of the fiber drone. Forbes magazine came out with this awesome article on March 8th of 2024. It was sent to me the same day. And again, I had not flown drones prior to that. I've been, humanitarian experience the first weeks of the war. Came back to do Starlink conversions to make these expedited field units. I learned how to do that. Came over with 30 of these things. That's when I met all this high-speed guys over in Ukraine. They would allow me to come in and start cutting their cables on their Starlinks, and it put in these mobile power packs so they could come in field without having to bring generators.
Sure.
And then when the article came out, again on March 8th of 2024, I just said, we can build this. So those exact pictures that your amazing assistants pulled up on screen, I took those, sent it all to my homies, just the volunteer groups. I said, hey, who can put this together, man? We can build this. And at that point, again, I'd never flown a drone other than the ones that self-stabilize. Anyone can fly those, right?
For sure.
And it was, I was inspired. I was on a crusade. Like I stopped everything I was doing, and for 3 months we made our version of the fiber drone. And all I had to do, I had volunteers. And I would get on my local Facebook group communities, say, hey, who can do this? Who can do this? People would come together. I'd go get Costco pizza for them. I didn't have a budget.
Where were you doing this out of?
Out of Utah. Utah.
Cool.
And I was dialed in with a couple of different groups, volunteer groups. Heiner was a friend of mine. He backed financially the effort, and to thank you, Heiner. And then other groups came together, and just through passion and kindness, we were able to, in the hand of God, we put this together. So approximately 3 months later, we're out in West Deserts, just south of the big military Dugway proving grounds. So we're just south of there, right? Okay. And I'm flying this fiber drone, and it just...
How far did you go the first time?
8 miles.
8 miles.
Look, and the moment... Now, listen, this thing is full of zip ties, prayers, and duct tape, okay? So, because...
A little bit of spit.
A little bit of spit right there if we had it, right? And so we were flying this thing, and the moment it flew that day, I got my ticket to Ukraine, because if it flies, it kills. And so, I'm done. Proof of concept is done for me. Oh, we need to keep testing it, because engineers want to keep testing, right?
I
want to win a war. I want it to be perfect too. But after spending my time in Ukraine, Ukraine, I realized that we're winning an air war from the ground. And that's what we're doing because we take what we have. The quickest way to accelerate this is to get this proof of concept over to Ukraine and have the Ukrainians do what they do best. And they're going to take a simple concept and they're going to keep modifying it, improving it, improving it, and improving it. So I'm in Ukraine 2 months later. So we'll see, that came out March, April, May. So I'm over in Ukraine shortly after that. And then that's when the real crusade began.
Interesting. Okay,
Absolutely.
so tell us about that.
Well, unfortunately, that experience was not as quick as it was because, again, at that time, when I was first there in the first month of the war, it was the Wild Wild West. We had people showing up, literally just going to the front lines. I was all humanitarian that first trip.
Of course.
And that's what influenced, brother, you will never unsee hundreds of thousands of people coming to the border below freezing temperature in the highs of the days. Women and children, women and children, women and children. No restrooms, no facilities, pooping and everything along the way. And the best people in the world showing up, coming through Poland, the Polish border, obviously, dropping off, canned goods, trying to make warming kits, anything they could do to relieve what was coming out of Ukraine, these displaced people. And you'll never forget I was working with Paul. I was volunteering with Paul, Hugs for Ukraine, and a great man who's given his life to Ukraine. And he was just started volunteering with them, and we were driving special needs people we would come in from the Lviv train station, and we would give them a place to rest overnight and then get them to the border. And it will change your life, man. And you realize, it just really makes you realize that this country, what we fought for, what we have in the United States is sacred, bro. And we can only keep that by, in my opinion, serving a loving God and having a strong defense, so nobody's going to mess with us. So anyway, I'm off topic now, which I do. But that was the influence. To see, back to Ukraine. Okay, so the mission went longer than I thought because it's a new concept. And I'm saying, brother, Russia's already using this against us. I didn't make this article up. This is a Russian drone.
You just replicated it.
I just copied it, bro. Yeah. And our version of it. And so finally, I knew apparently I have a knack for working with partner forces during contested logistics and getting that in. Because I've met all kind of people now in Ukraine. But what we need to understand is we may have the sexiest, whatever, newest tech, but at the end of the day, we are their servants. That's it. And they are keeping World War III confined in one country, because history repeats itself. And one of the reasons I went into the Marine Corps is because my grandfathers served in World War II. And so I have that heritage. And it's my responsibility as a man and as a person who loves my country is to keep it defended. That's the reason my boy who's sitting in the corner here, my two sons, are going to join the United States Marine Corps to keep that defense of our country. All right, there's my plug for the Marine Corps, okay?
Yeah.
So we were over there. I was over there, and it took 5 months to finally get our first kill, approximately. Okay. And so, we'd go fly it, we'd go test it. I built more over there. I said, guys, it flies, it kills, let's do it. Now, over that time period, I am proud to say that we planted the seeds. Okay. There were certain commanders that, oh, this is good technology. We would fly it. Yeah. I was able to talk to one donor. I said, hey, I need to go over there with about 40 of these. I need to be able to make 40 of these so we can, kill some Russians and we can also, give them to units, get it tested. Because one, you have to have adoption right there, but to have mass adoption, I had to have manufacturing. So I'm knocking on these doors. I'm showing I would not leave a producer, a drone manufacturer. I gave him, each visit was about $500. I gave him a spool of fiber. I gave him the test cable. I tried to use one of their drones. If not, I just gave him a 10-inch drone. Sure. And they left with the ground. I left with a ground station. We would we would solder it, we would program it. I had volunteers who were smart, and they would once we learned the system, we would just replicate that. And we showed it. I showed it to everybody. I mean, it was my crusade. I went everybody. Someone gave me a van to use, and I lived in the van, and we just unit. Everybody was interested. It was just this concept. Oh my God, we got to test it. We got to test it, bro. We don't need to test it. It flies. It kills. Finally. Through just an amazing, network of volunteers, I said, bro, I need someone that has little, let's say, laxer standards as far as getting me to front line, because I pass this off to a unit, they're not getting their kills. I've already donated. I need to get this thing killed, and this is going to be the catalyst. Get those confirmed kills. This is going to be the catalyst.
Sure.
Foreign Legion.
Yep.
Kind of a little bit looser, a little bit, yeah.
Maybe the boys that introduced us.
Yeah. And so I round up out of Kharkiv, and I was do a lot of work in Kharkiv, and so we went out, and the guys just flew it a couple of times. It took about 3 weeks, and we keep having these meetings. Say, brother, it flies. It's flown on the polygon. It's flown this. Let's strap a bomb to it. Let's kill some Russians, right? And we did that, and we went out, and I brought 3 or 4, and it was August the 16th. And we're sitting there, and you literally they run a war, as off of Skype, or we run a war off of different unit has their favorite app, and we were on WhatsApp, and we had the team chat going on there, and we had our Starlink with our comms, and we were in a bombed out building and pulled in and just waited for the perfect. We had ISR above, and they were telling us, hey, here's the position. This is one we want to get. They had they call it curtains or reb, or the jamming, and we hadn't been able to get to this particular distance. So we're north of Kharkiv, and we document the heck out of this thing. And we launched the drone. And what's interesting is we were running about a 2 kilo Thermobaric. Munition on that, and the bomb guys do that, set all that stuff up, and I'm just there more as an observer. I mean, as Ukrainian pilots, again, we train the trainer. I mean, these guys are the pros. Just get my payload to there, with no RF. We're using that.
Right.
But we flew over about 1.5 kilometers of lake, and we flew in. ISR was recording the whole thing. Just went in. That was a perfect kill. And you could see it was in a blown out building structure. You can see the windows, all the dust clouds coming out. And the guys were in there, evaluated my fiber drone, and it was just phenomenal. And so I sent all those recordings to all the communities I was working with.
Sure.
And it just accelerated from there, at least from my efforts. And I am very proud to say that 3 of the manufacturers, out of all the manufacturers, 3 of the manufacturers now that I started out with, and we donated their stuff, I'm not talking about Big L, have the largest fiber production in Ukraine, or top 10 fiber production. And I know that I was the catalyst for that, because it was not their production line before, even their conversation. So and that's how we get mass adoption, proof of concept, our kills, and then we get the private industry to make it.
Troy, I want to ask I want to ask a critical question here.
All right, brother.
I mean, in this war, you've seen it mainly from the other side, where the Ukrainians maybe come up with stuff quicker than the Russians, and then the Russians are fast followers with it, and fast follower can be loosely used. Why did it take so long for the Ukrainians to adopt something that was already being used against them, and quite successfully too?
Yeah, David, that's sorry about that. Dan, that's a great question right there.
Yeah.
And because in my head, that was the same thing. Bro, how
banging
am
my head
I
against
in this?
the wall.
Because I'm leaving this kid. I'm leaving my family for that time period right there. Obviously, the pressure on finances and wife were beyond measure.
Yep.
But I couldn't leave because this wasn't me. This was being inspired. And I just thought they just need a catalyst. And plus also being competitive in this thing, I wanted to get that first kill. And I know, I hit the internet with everything. That's why Russia evaluates my work. And that's why, because I like to document some of this stuff. And I don't have a reason for that other than some of it was just maybe old Soviet mentality to some degrees. I mean, I could have potentially, like if I went to the Foreign Legion and had that connection week 1, 3 weeks later we would have been stacking bodies, right?
Sure, of course.
And I just...
So it just took time for you to find the right people who are going to take...
Because they did have a lot of restrictions, and it's even more restricted now, where, gringos can't, a volunteer just can't, it's career ending. And as a matter of fact, we had that meeting. They said, Troy, this is career ending. If you get killed, you're killed on position. He said, we can't. I mean, you're just a guy who wandered up the front line. But I had enough blessings and enough prayer to know that this part of the mission, we're going to be victorious. We just have to make it happen. And great question. I just got in with the teams that were more hesitant than they were. Because, again, it's new. And as they said, I was in position one time, and there was it snowed, and we had ISR telling, showing us what was going on. I was asking the pilots, a great team. This is the team I got 10 flights and 10 strikes with fiber drones, right? My design, it was sexy, right? And I said, hey, why aren't they riding on the roads? Because everyone's going off the roads and they're tracking this. And he looked at, the pilot there, Mike, he says, Ukrainian guys, he says, nobody wants to be the first. Somebody had an IED. I will tell you, talking about being the first, and there was literally, I was on position with the same team, Mike, and I'd brought 15 fiber drones. This was new for them. But it was a talent, if they fly, and they change their tactics and learned a lot from these guys. They adapt so quickly. Ukrainians, bro, they adapt so quickly. And a lot of that's out of necessity. And also, again, they're good at putting aces in their places. So these pilots, they allow them to have the freedom to kill Russians creatively. And I love that about them. Something we need to learn. I want my Marines to know, bro, be outside the box all day long, find solutions. And, with an RF drone, we're flying high, right? The fibers, wait a minute, we're going to fly right off the deck, right? And what's interesting is, I'm with Mike, their team. It's a 4-day position there, because when you infield the more dangerous positions, you're not pulling in and coming out and getting lunch, right? You're going to stay in position, hide your vehicles, hopefully. They find your warm engine blocks with their ISR, and they're blowing that up, not us up. Right. So we get on position. We bring all our kit in. We're coming in with about 80-something drones, 86 that day. I brought my share, so we extended the mission out. And Mike, their RF, the Rev was, or curtains he calls it, was that we had the wrong antennas on them. So they're in there soldering down in our basement, changing out these antenna systems. But we launched one of my fiber drones because we had some time to set it up. I'm teaching them this. We fly out, and they say, hey, we're going to do pit stop. Or what's pit stop? Ambush. And so they're flying the fiber drone, and we're just going to sit here. Yeah. So sit on the side of the road, say, hey, just watch the telly, watch the monitor. And sure enough, this Russian dude comes running by there, doesn't see, I don't know how he could miss the drone sitting on the side of the road, runs right by it. I get the guy's Mike, and I say, hey, this Russian just ran by, and we had previously dropped off some landmines out there. So he's running right by. We're watching ISR, and just boom, he finds one of our landmines, right? And because now they were kind of disguised as trash. It had snowed, so there's a reason. And boom, hits the landmine. Big plume of smoke comes up, and then his homies go down, and they're side by side go down to check out what happened to Vlad, right? And we launch we fired up, came in right behind them. 3 confirms right there. And it's just it's just amazing. So my point is with that is the tactics that the Ukrainians are producing is what we're not going to reinvent real time, or we're not going to outsmart real time tactics. And these Ukrainians are doing it. And we need to learn. Don't think that our way is better. Who would you rather follow? A man who's actively killing Russians, or a theory?
Why is that message not getting through?
It is getting through. I think we've got books that we paid somebody to produce, and then we've got the tactics that we'll actually use. Yep. And I will tell you that the Marine Corps, I have had more Marines reach out to me and spend more time per size of military, U.S. military, than any other branch. And it's humbling. And that's why, I'm grateful that my boys will be going into the Marine Corps, because these TTPs that we're sharing with these guys, they'll call me. I'll be on position, or I'll text them. I'll get them on Signal, and I'll have them watch our strikes or us building something. I make videos for them how I'm converting a 40 millimeter grenade, taking the rings off and taking the blasting cap and cutting it with the metal thing and setting the primer so it detonates. And we're 3D printing the flower and putting the fins on it. How we're doing these drop systems. Make quick videos, send it out to whatever. The Marine Corps they want to win wars, man. I mean, that's what we're going to do. And we realize, we're working with partners. We're not, when we go to a peer-to-peer fight, we're not going to have air dominance. Because I have been to China twice, and through a business I used to own. And those guys, there is manufacturing on every corner. And these guys could outproduce.
They have CNC machines in their living rooms.
Yes.
It is the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen.
Yes. All right. Then what we're against. I don't want to pick that battle. I don't want to go over there. Yeah. Let them do what they do. they do.
Yeah.
But my point on this is, obviously we've got to adapt and just know we're not going to have air superiority. I mean, everything, even down to medical. I made a video of Rebecca. She's one of the volunteer medics, amazing lady. And it was funny. I was, with my guard unit. My guard unit forced me to separate because I was finishing out with the guard and said, "Look, you're pretty visible in what you're doing.
Right.
We need you. You've got to. You can't be in the guard." And which I hate it. I hate it because obviously I want to keep my uniform on because I love my country.
Yeah.
But the thing is, do I do what God's inspired me to do?
Right.
And also, I knew I was on a mission right there. I would have never left my sons to go do this stuff if it wasn't inspired.
Yeah.
And so, and seeing that through, I knew, hey, getting that retirement check from the military, I'd always know I sold out and didn't do as I was commanded, basically. So, brother, I'm rambling at this point.
No, you're good. You're good.
Can you bring this back?
I will.
Okay.
But it's very interesting too.
Okay.
Like, I mean, you're clearly incredibly passionate about like delivering solutions to the Ukrainians, right? What have you noticed over the last couple years as far as like the technology first? And you touched on tactics. We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
So let's start with technology, right?
Okay.
You're doing a fundraise right now. You showed me a bunch of the videos for stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what's the technology you think that they do a really good job making? And what's the stuff that like they're asking you to help source?
The source right there, again, I've got so much, and I don't want to brag, but I've got so much deliverables that in Ukraine, it's not your background, it's your experience, who you are, your character. And I'm grateful that these guys have, I just keep delivering for them.
Sure.
Whether it's stacking bodies, it was our fiber.
Yep.
I mean, that stuff blew up.
Yep.
And, and I was, had a part to play in that. And I'm grateful for that. The sourcing challenges right now is fiber and improving the electronics.
Oh, interesting.
Right there, because we have failures that we shouldn't have, even still. And
is that just because it's not being standardized?
It's
or
not
is
being standardized.
Yeah, you got dudes just welding.
Dudes just doing the best they can with what they can to defend their country. Because again, there's supply chain that's different. The standardization is not there. So I have bought ESCs that worked great the first round.
Sure.
And then now we load test everything. So I've got two employees now in Ukraine full time, and a couple of volunteers, and we build my version of the fiber drone right there. And I want to actually talk about that.
I'd love to.
I got a patent on it, just because it's, we'll wrap back around to that. But we're just doing the best we can, and we're winning the war off of Alibaba being our supply chain, right? Now, the guys have made their own versions. I'm working with a couple of teams that have their own, their own products, and they're building them in Asia, and they're bringing in, and that's wonderful. It just takes time to develop that and money.
Yep.
Because there's just no private. There is a lot of money coming to that, and I've had tons of money conversations with Westerners. And maybe we could wrap back around to that. But they've all been, when you call me, and I am happy to get your product to Ukraine and do your confirmed kills on that if it's a great product and it's scalable. But when these guys call me and say, "Oh, you can make so much money with this," you lose me. Because we got to win the war, and people say, "Oh, you know all these people." Yeah, I know these people.
Mission first.
But and we need capitalism. I'm a capitalist for sure, but I've got to win a war. And people, what these developers need to understand, that every bit of tech that's coming out of Ukraine has been made true by the blood of Ukrainian, defenders, as they're called. And when you can't support them, bro, you want me to do this for you? I'm happy to do it, but you can't. Let's go outfit a team. We need about 20K, and that don't tell me you can get R&D done, for 20K with confirmed kills, which I deliver. And you can't help my unit to do that. Lead with that, and I'll stack any. I'll get your videos right there. And it's just been a disconnect. People don't understand that everything they're coveting and wanting, and I'm glad they do. I'm glad that we're learning, right? And but it's coming from the blood of Ukrainian defenders.
It's a really good point that not enough people don't talk about, right? It's truly like everything you learn and validate is actually coming from another human.
All military lessons are written in blood.
Yeah.
And that's why I, as an American,
Yeah.
have a responsibility to my sons, the Marine Corps, my country, to share what I'm learning. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful Fort Bragg brought me out. I'm grateful my local units have brought me out. I've got 19th Special Forces Group. I've been out 3 times doing trainings for them.
Yep.
Right there, in my lane.
Sure. So let's talk about your lane then, and fiber drones, right?
Yeah.
And you were saying the 2 biggest issues right now that you were seeing from a technology standpoint. We already talked about electronics and a standardization and or like testing before, we eliminate failure.
The consistency of the product.
Exactly. Now talk to me a little bit about fiber, right? Because I mean, the images, it's like once a week, every single day on some Telegram channels, you just see forests or fields covered in fiber. So we know everyone's using it and they're using lots of it. But talk to us a little bit about the supply chain constraints you're seeing or some of the issues around that, because this is almost a new category of drone, even though it's an old concept.
At least at this volume.
At this volume, correct. Yeah.
And I remember saying, like the interview we first did after our first confirmed the mission we did. Forbes magazine, Business Insider reached out. These guys have been great, man.
Yeah.
A lot of support for Ukraine, and I love doing any interviews with any people, that are going to support U.S. military efforts or Ukrainian efforts, and that's your specialty, obviously. I remember saying that, unless there's dozens being flown from the same position, the whole idea of the ground being cluttered is just not. It's just not going to happen. And now we drive into positions, and the ground's covered. Right. It's like this is unbelievable.
Right.
And the good news is that the bird nests that are made in those areas should last 10, 20 years,
The storks will be really happy.
They're pretty solid.
Yeah, exactly.
And but there's always a mess from any war. So the biggest request I'm getting right now is shortage from China. So some of the larger manufacturers, Russia's made apparently a deal. The prices I'm paying have almost doubled. One of the kids on my team is Asian. He's Filipino. He's Asian, Vietnamese, and he was there. The people sitting across from were Russian buyers. They took him first on my order because they thought he was Chinese.
Yeah.
And he was able to get not everything because I was limited to a $50,000 purchase, but we didn't get locked up. Of
fiber?
Fiber. And I've been blessed, I've raised right at $600,000 now for Ukraine. And, but when I get it, we spend it. We're going to go stack, because these guys want deliverables. And, so it's this flow of, I'm only as good as my last fundraiser, right?
Of course.
And then some guys want to support my U.S. efforts, and I'm having that conversation, but I need to get some kind of manager to keep it all together.
Totally.
But it's now I foresaw this, and because when you're dependent upon one supply chain, now why you say Owens Corning makes fiber? It's just a budget. It's a numbers game for us.
Of course.
Because we can only buy if we can put 3 things in the air that may be a little bit, not perfect, but yet we've proven to have success rate. Even the most perfect drone isn't going to guarantee it makes it to its target.
Of course.
Because it's going through so many elements, right?
Yep.
But if I can put, let's use better numbers. I can put 10 Ukrainian-made drones in the air versus 1 American-made drone in the air. The odds are in our favor,
of course.
Right? And so that's why we source from not Owens,
Understand.
We source from Asia.
Yeah.
Now, I said, we're all dependent upon China. Let's go outside of China. And so I sent a guy to India.
Interesting.
And we bought fiber, and it tested true. At that time, it was about 15 to 18% more. And they have it, and that's where it needs to go. And I'm getting that information out.
How do you make it? Tell us a little bit about the process.
The process of fiber, brother.
Super
I can only tell you the actual strand from the YouTube videos.
That's fair.
So watch those YouTube videos.
I will.
I stay in my lane there.
The reason I asked that though, too is
one.
like the amount of nearshoring from a manufacturing standpoint that's happening in Mexico. I wonder if there's some local, closer providers. Or if some of that will be stood up.
I have a whole layout for that because understand I'm already doing production in Ukraine.
Right.
I've got those guys over there, and they're doing production. One of our biggest requests is a lot of units just send me their broken spools because you got to understand how fragile this is. And with these guys we're infilling light skinned vehicles. We're on the X for minutes. And
Right.
we're pulling out 80 drones. These guys are just slamming them out right there. We've got guys with Overwatch, trying to with their shotguns, whatever we have, and these things get broken. And so when I infield with a fiber welding kit. And I can sit there and I can make repairs.
Fascinating.
And I give these kits to these guys, providing I have the donations.
Yeah.
I went into one unit right there, just training them. Because, see, it's sexy to be these cool guys that come out with the sexy videos all the time. They're working with dialed-in units. My job to be a force multiplier is to go in with the unit who has had either no experience or has had a bad experience.
Yep.
Maybe they got a kit with someone with the best of intentions, but they just didn't do the right quality. Stranding that fiber is a science. My guys, when they're not doing production for me, they're working for one of the 10th largest producers of fiber. So they go in. He also makes the spooling equipment there, Ukrainian style. So they know the tension ratio. They have that. So they're either, and I'm paying them full time. So they either go work with him. He loves it because I'm buying his equipment. I'm donating his equipment.
Yep.
And that's why I'm able to offer such a quality product, is because my guys are always learning from high production. Then we come in, we combine it with my design of the fiber drone. And I'm hoping the Ukrainians will start knocking this off, because you've seen pictures, and I'll add a lot of photos so we can have a better conversation. But currently, the standard fiber drone looks like it has legs and it has,
it's massive.
and it's just ridiculous. I've cut that down 45 to 55% by my design. Now, again, it's not my. I'm not even a drone guy, right? I mean, I am now apparently.
Yeah.
But I just said, but I am a Marine,
Yeah.
and I know the most effective way to eliminate the enemy. And you're going to send this glob of monstrosity through there, which will kill, or can we condense that?
Yeah.
So I put the battery in the core of the thing. The fiber's wrapped around
Brilliant.
there, and it slides in.
Okay.
There, I'll send you a video of it.
Yeah.
Battery slides in the center. All the same kit, just a different design. My feet are on the bottom of the spool, so we can do pit stops.
So
Center of gravity is lower.
You don't
These
need
guys
the big
who have
metal
these
frame.
legs there, because we're going out there and we're launching drones off of broken chairs and blocks, and how many videos you see where they're launching fiber drones off of bricks?
Yeah, of course.
No, it's a science. Let's perfect this thing. I've got folding arms right there, and that's a standard 10-inch.
Yeah.
Right there. But I have some sexy videos of my complete design right there. That was an earlier video, and that's when I was still buying kit from the manufacturer. I got this guy going. His name is Vlad, and he's out of Kharkiv, and he's one of the top 5 producers at this time right there. Now, that's my design.
Cool.
Those arms are actually fold. So I have a bubble wrap machine now, and so I slide this thing in, and it just doesn't get broken.
Great.
In my design, it's just 50% smaller, and since we don't have so much restriction into the size, the monstrosity of it, we're able to have less resistance, less weight, further range, greater payload. And it's just as a Marine, this is what I want.
The fact you put the legs on it and then you put a battery slot through
the center.
Is it. I mean, these are just like. It's genius.
Well, I know what I want to kill with.
Sure.
And I wasn't getting. I kept telling them they were so busy. We're so busy over there fighting a war. It took another year for me to come work with a 65-year-old guy who learned CAD.
Yeah.
There, he speaks. He doesn't. We don't speak the same language. Google Chat. We're learning. To communicate.
Yep.
And he designs the drone exactly as I want it. There, and it's I spent the ridiculous amount of money, got the NDAA components.
Great.
And I documented the videos of them on there, the receipts of me buying them, and we went and to my knowledge, I got the first fiber-optic NDAA confirmed kills in Ukraine, because it doesn't matter if you can't prove it. And so I like to do these things. It's kind of cool to be first,
No, I know,
unless you're driving vehicles in Ukraine on roads that have bombs on them. Yeah. You don't want to be the first in that scenario.
You want to be at probably near the end of the train there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so 2 last kind of topics I want to kind of focus on, right?
Yeah, brother.
The first is like a very broad question, right? So you might answer it a couple different ways. But like, what do you think the future of conflict is going to look like, given everything you've seen over the last couple years in Ukraine?
Well,
And what's the message you want to have for like NATO and American ally, decision makers?
well, that's a DM. That's way beyond my pay grade, but I definitely have some experience.
No, we
So
want
the
your
future
opinion.
of conflict. I mean, what does history teach us? History, there's different scales, and we do know that all wars begin in the boardroom before they ever begin on the battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do choose to send my sons, our Marines, this most sacred thing a country has is its children.
Yep.
And if you do choose to send that, I pray it's a righteous fight.
Mm-hmm.
And I pray that the greed, which I've seen with the military-industrial complex, big L, that, we don't have liberty. We don't have freedom. You can't have capital. You can't have, capitalism. And there are things that are more important than a profit margin. Mm. So with that said, I know that I'd rather have volume as a Marine. Anytime I can send a drone down an alley or to clear a house instead of sending a soldier or a Marine, that's a life saved.
And is that what you think this starts to look like?
That's what my goal is with American-made freedom is to build. I love guys who are building the big sexy stuff. Yes, we need that 100%. We also need a $500 disposable drone that any Marine can fly that is, just a munition. It's just expendable. And I go clear this house. It's on fiber. It can't be jammed. And we don't have to have the radio god because you remember, you go out in the field and you've got your comms god, but we only had one or two of them at best. Yeah. When you're flying drones, I take a piece of fiber and I'm able to eliminate all comms because I have direct communication with it. I'm not emitting a signal right there, so I can be pinged.
Yep.
And I'm able to take, these kids who know how to game, they're able to fly at learning curves almost immediately, and he can go clear that room, remote detonator, flying into a position to kill a threat. That's a life saved. And the goal of American-made freedom is to do exactly what I'm doing in Ukraine. That's why I'm a 501c3. Yep. I don't care about, I'm not trying to make a dollar. I just want to get results and get this in. I love for people to copy. Oh, we made it better. Good, made it better. Let's save some lives. Just bring the price down so it's attainable.
Sure.
All right, so far as conflict, hey, the CIA, all you guys who are listening to this amazing guy, if you ever want, let's see, what's the term I came up with? Oh, proxy war is a service. I'm your guy. So it's fast at what I've learned, and I'm going to keep everything small scale because that's my experience. So proxy war is a service. You can take me, give me a budget. I will go get the 3D printers. I'll go get the electronics, and I can go into with the Connex and some fiber, and I can take kids who can game, and within a week we would have an Air Force right there. Because, again, we don't have to have the expensive stuff up in the air, bouncing signals, the signal gods, all the antennas. We can take fiber and we can eliminate a threat. I've got guys I've worked with, this Australian kid who's freaking amazing, and so many other guys, and we literally could show up within hours with the kit pre-made and subdue any threat, within days, just with our capability, as long as it's in that 20-kilometer range. So it's phenomenal what drones can give us. Precision strikes, reliable, on a budget. I mean, it's just unbelievable. $1,000 drone hitting 20 kilometers away with a 2-kilo warhead.
I think that a lot of the videos that you can see on X or on Telegram or are shared in all our irregular chats, right, or on Reddit, I think people are starting to wake up. How are those conversations? Like, you're obviously being asked to come in and do training and educate people on the story you're telling us here today. Do you think it's resonating?
Oh, 100% is.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Especially, the Marine Corps is leading forward. I've mentioned that before. We, thank goodness, have some capitalists who are putting dollars behind this because it's a known commodity.
Yeah.
I would love to be in front of it.
Sure.
And be able to, my goal with American-made freedom is to eventually, like I got 10 3D printers in Ukraine, right? Because everything I do is results oriented over there. But we would love if there is this conflict, I want a family to be able to say, hey, I'm going to sponsor my son. Order $10,000 worth of drones, and I go send them to a Marine Corps unit over in some front line, so they have additional results. And I know that's a little bit out there, but
that is actually what's happening in Ukraine.
It's exactly what happened.
Every single day we're pushed with fundraisers.
Right now, we are so used to having dominance with logistics. We go peer to peer, it's not going to be there, and we need to be able to pull up connexes and a week be stationed up in on the right side of the Philippines and be flooding
and then
our partner forces or us with $1,000 solutions. And we'll hit them with quantity because that's what our adversaries are going to hit us with, especially if it's in Asia.
All right. So Troy, last kind of question here.
Okay, man.
Right?
Bring us all together, bro.
No. This is we do two things now. So I'm going to ask you a question about what are you reading? Okay. Obviously, I'm sure the Bible is going to be one of those things, but you clearly have shown that you think of creative things. How do you learn new information? So what are you reading? What podcasts you listen to? What movies you watch? Give us some something that is, top of mind for you over the last couple months that you've consumed.
Man, that's a great question. So what influenced me top of mind as far as books and who I'm following? Again, everything that has been done in Ukraine that I've had the privilege of doing has been inspired by God. So it's not me because when you maybe have no background in this whatsoever. But I do know that inspiration comes from God and we're inspired. So you've got to be open because these dreams that we're given, like what you've done, what you've built, they aren't daydreams. They're instructions from your Heavenly Father to create something, and you have to be dialed in on that. So I'm working on that one right there. My primary focus is real estate development right there. Obviously, that's been on hold for years. So I do actually a lot in that arena.
Cool.
But Jacko, you can't go wrong with anything that makes you level up. And I think the biggest takeaway for me and the things that influenced me or inspired me the most, brother, is the fact that we are so blessed to be in this country. And when you see a man who's displaced, his family hopefully got out, and he's fighting for everything that he has to regain his farm, to come back and go back in the currently occupied areas. You go and you're there fighting with them. It's kind of hard to have a bad day. My kids are safe. And, the biggest concern is that the Wi-Fi is not working on part of the trip. And, most Americans wear our prosperity around a waistline. And it's like, we're so blessed, bro. We are so blessed. So shut the hell up. Go out and do something that makes a difference in this world. Be grateful for what you have. And know that it's all been provided by Marines, men and women who've worn this country's uniform and that have established the greatest country on earth and to keep us safe right there. And that's, and love your family, man, and love God and be good to your neighbors, man.
I don't even know how to end it after that. That was incredible.
Semper Fi, bro.
No, that's good. Thanks for listening to the Drone Wars podcast. If you liked what you heard today, please subscribe to catch all the latest insights for all things defense and geopolitics.